battle.
Now let's take a look, RMC and Dia. Let's have a look at what we've got running through these early bans. There's a surprising amount of top lane focus for VKS there. The Cassante and the Kennen removed, whereas Kabum, it is all about that bot lane. The Milio and the Yuumi taken away, plus the ever-present defense.
I actually find this really interesting because VKS yesterday showed that they were willing to last pick their bot lane for Trigo and damage. This is how this team operates. It's all about that 3G network on the top half of the map. Of course, as I say that, Zeri first pick, because why not? She's open and she's completely busted Trajan. Granted, 50% win rate after yesterday, but even on the games she lost, there was just being so much work being done by that Zeri, by Ivy.
Yeah, we remember, I was going to say, specifically IU in that day one, putting in insane CS numbers, insane damage numbers, and it is going to be locked in first for VKS here. The answer now for Kabum, the Jace and the Maokai. We have seen as well plenty of Jace into that mid lane specifically. We do often get a lot of Jace bans in this region against the Korean top laners usually, but we saw Tinones turn his hand to it yesterday, and Crastiel now potentially going to take it. Before I would have thought maybe Crastiel, I wouldn't expect him to take the Jace, but seeing how he played game one, I'm not so surprised anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's worth noting that Crastiel, the last time we saw him mid, was back on those Liberty rosters. He actually was on the Vivo K-Stars roster last split, but as support, he role swapped, and now he's back in that mid lane. Yesterday on the Galio, normally what we consider a supporter for utility mid laner, he got the second highest kills, tied with Nosferus at 8 kills yesterday on a Galio. So maybe he's changed his ways. Maybe he's going to be that big carry. For now, though, I still think that's a top lane Jace for Lonely. Korean Jace is a thing in Brazil. Vivo K-Stars going with a really steady draft now. It's the jungle bot lane, which is pretty much stock standard, and it's Kabum that's kind of bucking the trend of it.
Yeah, we do tend to have a little bit more tank reticence in this region. We don't have as many of the Orns and the Scions coming through. There's a lot more bruises and carries, and the Jace could be that, or it could be the Renekton locked in now. This isn't confirmed top lane RMC. We've seen a mid lane Renekton or two in this region.
And honestly, I actually think I prefer Crastiel to pilot this Renekton in the mid lane. It's very similar to that Galio minus the sort of global pressure, but it's a lane bully. You get that sort of first move advantage, and Kabum yesterday did incredibly well with Flawless and Crastiel moving together, roaming together. And when you think back to K-Stars game against Fusu yesterday, Grell did get shut down in the early game, especially by this aggression coming out of mid-jungle. And I like what I'm seeing. If Kabum take that Renekton mid, take it with that Maokai, start invading Grell, well, K-Stars might be on the back foot to start this one.
Now, surely this has to be the Aphelios ban. You've got all the way through to the end of the ban phase. No one even looked at it. It was so successful on day one. RMC, is there anything else that you want to see taken away besides this other premium bot lane?
I mean, right now, the supports, we've got the Trinity, Yuumi, Milio, Lulu, all banned here. I agree, it's either going to be Jinx or Aphelios, potentially. Jinx still on the board. Her base damages aren't great anymore, and she does need a support to buff her up, but she does outrange. Ooh, never mind, I eat my words. It's CBLOL. What was I thinking? The Lucian ban to come out, so they are worried about the Lucian Nami. They're worried about the early game that we already have.
Well, we've, throw that analysis out the window, RMC. I forgot it's the CBLOL, my bad. The Ezreal coming in, and now this is the quintessential Triforce AD carry, right? That's such a strong item on this patch. Do you think that it's going to be able to stand up here?
I don't know, because this is Raven especially picking up the Ezreal. Raven did not play Ezreal at all last split, and when I think of Raven, especially his time in the CBLOL towards the end of last split, it was on early game champions like Kalista, like Lucian. The late game skillers, I feel like Ezreal especially, an incredibly mechanical champion, a very, very risky pickup, especially into the likes of Trigo, who's known to be that late game team fighting monster. You don't have that lane pressure. And Zeri as well, sure, Ezreal kind of outranges Zeri, but not by much. And Zeri, she's another Triforce abuser. I'd argue she does it better than Ezreal.
Okay, hold the phone. We've got the Ahri back into the mid lane. Not my favorite, I must say, but the Olaf, certainly a different speed. Gigu, we saw a little bit of the Gigod yesterday on the Gwen, and now we might be in for a similar performance here.
Yeah, and Gigo has had some incredible stats last split. He was the, of all top laners, he had the highest kills, highest damage percent, and he had the most solo kills. keep in mind that Robo was considered the top lane MVP. He had 9 solo kills. Vigo had 16. And I feel like Olaf is one of those champions who can really run over a lane. The big question for me, for Vigo this game is, do we see Flash Ghost, where he's going to crush the lane, dominate, get kills? Or is he going to run the teleport for more of that global pressure to help the team out come the mid-late game in rotations?
You can see Gigo on your screens right there, looking to set up perhaps the 1v9, another one of his games. But, you know, anyone who was watching yesterday, we all saw Robo's Olaf, and that's, if anything, more of a famous Olaf in this region, but he was 0-2 by 5 minutes. So somewhat of a volatile champion, we could say, and as much as Gigo could 1v9, he could also crash and burn.
I don't know, man. I think it was Rude who brought up the meme yesterday, Gigod or Gigon. We'll have to see which one shows up there. I think he's being set up for Gigod really well here. And one thing we should as well note is that Lonely is going to be piloting that Renekton in the top lane. So Crustiel with the Jace, it is going to be more of that carry focus. But Jace in the mid lane, you know, kind of squishy, is vulnerable to ganks.
Really is a good choice for me for Crastiel. I'm excited that he's sticking with this vibe. You know, you mentioned the Galio performance. The man was playing like a possessed demon yesterday, and he doesn't have, you know, it's not a melee champion, it's not the Renekton, no Prowler's Claw here, but the Jace still something that can absolutely stamp dominance on that individual lane, and that is some growth that I would love to see from Crastiel going forward into this game.
One of the things that I've certainly got my eye on coming in is how Raven's going to perform on the Ezreal and what this means for the game plan of Kabum, because they, yesterday, all-inned on him. They went, hey, this is Jinx, this is all the protection for Jinx. Ezreal's famously self-sufficient, but those are questions that will get answered as we make our way onto the Rift. Trajan, it's time to start Game 1 of Day 2.
Here we go, everybody. Thank you very much, Dia. Let's get hyped, everybody, for day number 2. VKS versus Kabum. The Cade Stars came out swinging yesterday. One of those dark horses that at the end of last split, it looked like they'd finally start to get things going in the right direction. Just didn't have enough days to make it stick in the standings. Now with a 1-0 start, they could be looking at a 2-0 week here. And that's how to start the split off right.
And they're certainly going to be looking for it. It feels like Trigo and Damage has really given this roster wings. Trigo and Damage, really strong team fighting duo, and their composition kind of reflects that with Grell on this Wukong to kick things off, and then likewise Damage to go in with that Rakan. Damage known as a huge engage player with the likes of Nautilus being sort of his calling card. But the meta has shifted away from those engage supports towards enchanter supports, Trajan. And if we look at what Kabum have drafted, Kabum don't want any of that. They're not looking for team fights. That is a poke composition with space creation, with zone control, with that Maokai. And on paper, at least, that's usually the answer towards hard engaged team fights.
Yeah, for sure, as Gigo is going to have a little bit of a look-see on this red buff 1v2. We saw a similar level 1 play from Robo yesterday, and now the axes are going to come down. Kabum giving this a lot of respect. Lonely wants none of the smoke that Gigo is offering, as Flawless is just, I choose not to see this. I am continuing my buff.
And you know what? For Flawless, this is probably not the wrong call, right? You're trying to make sure you don't fall behind. You get that buff first with red buff, and then you can turn and fight Gigu. Props to Lonely as well. While that looked really good from Gigo, Lonely doesn't miss out too much whatsoever. Yes, you traded health, but you get back into the lane and you'll notice that the health bars are not that different. Not to mention Lonely is running on a rage mechanic, so the mana spent by Gigo, that's going to take a long time to come back. Lonely doesn't have that resource, doesn't care.
Overall, a much more controlled version of this play than we saw yesterday. Nobody died, the buff went to the right side, it's all chill, okay, just a bit of mental warfare here from the Cade Stars up in this top lane. So as you mentioned before, you were saying about how this comp from Kabum can, when well executed, be the answer to what the Cade Stars are bringing here, but it does have that higher burden of kind of macro and execution, and that's something that we're really looking to see more of in the CBLOL, right? We've had this growth over the last few splits. We started to really perform and improve on the macro level, and if Kabum can execute a comp like this well today, that's a great sign for the region. It
is, and it'd actually be kind of interesting and crazy surprising, because it's funny, when I look at the players on Kabum, when I see Flawless, when I see Crastiel, when I see Redbird, these guys are disciplined players who are able to execute these compositions which require patience. But then I look at Kabum as an organization, and it's in yeah. They blow up. This is a team that is highly volatile, or an organization that is highly volatile. Are we going to see Sparks in the top lane to kick things off right now?
Level 3 gank, in comes Grell, lonely drop a lower flash in from Gigu, but as he stepped too
missed the
far,
axe.
the tower resets. Maybe luckily for Gigo there, doesn't draw aggro, and the play might not be done just yet. They're going for round number 2, flash away from lonely, in comes the Q, and Gigo trying to fall in. There's the first blood, and at least it's traded back.
And the assist over to Curl as well. We go K-Stars. They committed so much, they had to make that work. But the question whenever one gank goes off is what happens on the other side. Flawless already answering bot, but Damage and Trigo with that ward, they know it's coming, and it's a lot harder to force dive on a two-person play.
K-Stars, in fact, forcing the issue, diving over the wall to try and just rebuff Flawless there. We were pretty happy with Flawless's opening performance in the region in day 1, but he's not going to find this gank to stick just now.
It's funny, we were talking a little bit about how Flawless and Crosstown are really strong duo in the jungle mid, and I was expecting Kabum to bring the fire, bring the flame into VKS's jungle, try and punish Grell, but it's kind of the opposite. It's K-Stars playing aggressive. Even when playing on defense, they play aggressive, and look at Ripper having to burn flash already.
Saw it once again. At least Ripper can chuck the Mantra Soul Flare back and deal plenty of pain back to the K-Stars bot lane, but you're absolutely right, RMC. They are pushing and looking for opportunities, threatening at every turn to destabilize Kabum in this lane.
And what that means as well, Trajan, later on, we're talking about compositions, right? Kabum, they've got a poke composition. You've got Jace, you've got Ezreal, you've got Karma. A lot of poke and the ability to disengage through the empower, the mantra shields from Karma and Jace's gates. But if VKS, if the K-Stars can find the engages that we're already starting to see pre-5 minutes, Kabum, you want to poke, you want to disengage. If you're forced into the fight, you are not going to win it. So K-Stars, you can see their mentality, it's right there already. They're looking great for the mid game if they can keep this up. And Kabum, in the laning phase, you get engaged on, not the end of the world. Just need to, fix things up and make sure that doesn't happen later on when the fight's on.
Now we see Flawless heading down towards that bot side. The Dragon control has been pretty hotly contested so far, as you'd expect in such a bot-centric meta. They're looking to take prio in the lane, rotation over, maybe pull off a dive, then turn that into the objective. But Kabum are just going to start this Dragon off raw right now. Grell has the Scryer's Bloom, and we'll know what's going on.
Took a little bit of poke, and mid lane Crosstown's trying to put the pressure, but Greftar has first move here.
They'll step too far forward, perhaps, has to flash away, trades back some damage, and the rest of the team rotating. But unluckily, 2-man knockup from damage. The 4 versus 3 as K-Stars trying to catch out Kabum, and they're looking for Redbird. There's the kill for Grell, and they've got what they needed. They'll head back to the river.
As our fellow co-caster 4x4 loves to say, all gas, no brakes from the K-Stars here. They just go in hard, and we're just talking about the end gauge. The poke is landing from Kabum. It's good. You saw how low Grell got. But K-Stars just don't know how to back up. And hey, why do you have to back up? When going in, it works perfectly well. Kabum looks at the Dragon. They are forced off. They're coming right back to it. And this time, I don't know if the K-Stars have enough health to push them off.
No, they can't kill you if they're dead, RMC. An important law to remember here, and that seemed to be VKS's plan in this game, is just stick it to them straight away, get stuck in. Grell now in the area once again, as the Dragon wasn't picked up off the back of it.
Okay, down to about 1,000 health. They don't have vision. They're going to see it now, but Grell has already walked away, and Kabum able to secure that really good discipline that we were talking about from them. Focus on these objectives. That's really more important than winning out the scraps. Well, as long as you're not losing and giving kills over. So Kabum, they're happy with where they are. They're just kind of looking to scale up for now and get that cross-scale flawless pressure for objectives.
Redbird making the aggressive move himself this time, trying to find that chain. But, Rakan, Zeri, not the easiest duo to lock down, we can say this, as Maokai will have to retreat back to the jungle and able to find something there. We saw on the screens that Crastiel is on top of the XP chart, farming away well on the Jace, should be looking for that mid-game spike. And, we know RMC that Crastiel would really love to take this win today.
Yeah, and considering his performance yesterday on that Galio, the foundation is there, the hope is there, Trajan, but with this Jace RE matchup, we should touch on it a little bit here. I know that the camera is focusing on this bot lane, but Trigo Damage, I think their job is done with Dragon taken. It's now about the top half of the map for K-Stars especially. And in the mid lane, Jace is actually quite a lane bully. Even now, he's expected to really dominate these matchups. He's gone even with Greftar. And Greftar, too, is known as a mid laner but he doesn't do well in lane. He drops farm, he roams, he helps everybody else out. Kind of similar to the reputation Crosdale has. So the fact that Crosdale is not crushing this lane right now isn't ideal for the Jace. And now I need to see what Crosdale can do out of lane. If you're not crushing the lane, then can you get to these objectives? Can you force off? You did it at Dragon. Herald is being done in full vision of the lane.
Exactly. If we're going to see the Jace go into the hands of these more kind of scaling, maybe supportive, enabling mid laners like the Tinones that we saw yesterday that surprised us with that pick, instead of players like the Envy, like the Avenger, you know, we want to see them make good use of it, as now the ult's been committed by Gigo up in topside. Lonely has to drop the Dominus as well as he tries to scrabble back to the tower. Flawless ready with the Maokai ult to dissuade further action, as Grell with the Herald in hand will just have to take a look-see and walk away.
Good response from both of those junglers, but Trajan, I don't think the top laners were thinking about their junglers when they kicked that off. Both of them were looking to all in. Gigo burning the Ghost, and actually, that's something we kind of mentioned, right? Is Gigo running Ghost or is he running Teleport? He is going for the lane, and I expect to continue seeing him put this sort of pressure. But are not quite able to land the jungle kill.
Rusty out, take a bit of poke, but able to clear the wave out as Redbird is in the area to offer a shield, offer some heal if needed, as Vigo, without the ultimate, could be in a bit of trouble here if Flawless can find an angle.
Gigo has full vision on Flawless clearing out that ward, and Gigo is not afraid, but maybe he should be. Flash is up and available for Lonely. Grell coming in.
They'll have to lead the charge with the flash, with the Cyclone. If they get this kill, they drop the Herald, goes in, and Lonely flashes out to safety once again. I must say the Renekton dealing with this pressure very well in this game.
Every time we look top, Trajan, it looks like Lonely's doing okay in the 1v1. But what's happening off screen has resulted in Lonely actually dropping a 25 CS deficit. God is coming online, and for now, Lonely is surviving, which is good. Gigo is his problem. Oh, and as I speak about problem,
surviving, potentially thriving, looks in for the Q, finds the stun, one more auto.
That's a kill!
A Lonely players like, take that RMC, I think he heard you.
Yep, okay, even Gods complete, even Gods complete there. You love to see it. As a Renekton, you are looking to try and punish that lane, and I was just about to say, if Lonely doesn't find a way to equalize that or to keep Gigo down, right now Gigo's his problem. Soon, Gigo is going to be everybody's problem on Kabum, so you love to see that 1v1 kill for Kabum.
Yeah, love to see that there's going to be potentially a threat on either side from this top lane, as we have seen the threat that these top lane Renektons can, the havoc that they can wreak on these team fights. Players like Robo have been showing that for several splits now, and we were looking before this season at Lonely as potentially one of the better performers from Kabum in Split 1, someone that could be a consistent carry for them. He's going up head-to-head against Giga right now, coming out on top of the 1v1 as Crashdiel trying to get stuck in with Grevthar. It's just damage though, no kills to be found.
And that's, I think, a little bit more what I expect from the mid lane. Crosdale threatening Grefthar, just being slippery, getting away, able to survive. And hey, we are starting to see a little bit of a CS lead for Crosdale on the mid lane, so maybe he's starting to pop off. Flawless now looking back into the bot lane. And Trajan, remember I said we can leave Damage and Trigo alone because Dragon's down?
Yeah. Well,
it's 20 seconds, still Dragon.
Yeah. And here we go, Flawless right on time into this lane. Oh look, who's that on the screen? It's Grell. Both junglers have rocked up. Grell still with the Herald to drop as well. If they can find a play, they could find some plate gold before we hit that 14-minute mark, as Kabum are the first into the river taking that Dragon position.
And the warding from Kabum right now is on point for this Dragon. They have full control. They've got the poke. And Cade Stars, you mentioned before, you kind of got to brute force these entrances, look for these engages. But if you're doing that into Fog of War, you might not arrive before you're dead.
Do they know that Grell is in there? RMC is my question, because he's got past the minion wave, but he could use the clone invisibility, right?
Yeah, and frankly, I think Kabum don't really care if Grell's there. They assume Grell's in the area, and they just want to be able to secure the Dragon. Problem is, they're taking too long. Herald has already been dropped in this bot side, and if you're VKS, it's only second Drake. If you want to, you could focus on getting plates instead.
Exactly. This is going to be the 4 versus 4. Lonely running his way down, and Givu's not going to be here, so Kabum might be able to leverage the 5 versus 4. As Cade Stars be on the receiving end of a bad fight here. The ult's been thrown down, the poke just hammering into the Cade Stars, and looks like they're going to back away. And once it's confirmed, Crashdiel, in fact, takes the TP to top lane to pick up that CS.
Really good macro play from Kabum, and this was, kind of what I was hoping we'd see. We mentioned
Exactly.
Kabum as an orchid is explosive, but the players, Flawless, Crosstail, Redbird, these guys are disciplined, and we saw just that. They only really lose that one plate top against Gigo. Crosstail's right up there to be able to pick up this farm. Now, Crosstail has to be careful. He's not going to win an extended 1v1 in this long lane, so the job for Crosstail right now, clear this wave. Poke if you want to, but make sure you don't overextend and die.
Perhaps we're going to be redefining the CBLOL diff tier RMC. It's not just about the explosions, it's not just about the deaths and the craziness. Maybe the CBLOL diff can be macro skill, right? That's my dream. That's my dream for the future. As we do have some item spikes coming in here, the Sundra and the all-important Triforce online for Kate Stars and Ezreal. Critically, I was about to say just still working on it, but there, suddenly all three major items across that jungle mid-bot lane come through.
Now, Trajan, Rafa said that CBLOL diff is about the memes. If macro was a meme in CBLOL, and now we get good macro,
I guess
have we memed
works,
the meme?
Yeah, we're working on multiple levels here, guys. We're on the evolution chart trying to stack it up. You see the next game coming up will be Loud versus Flutsu. That one is going to be an absolute banger for sure. 4x4 Axeman will be taking you through that. Cast scrap commits onto Trigo, forces the ultimate, and will not stick around too long.
I love too that for that next match of Loud versus Flixu, they showed the AD carries. The reigning current AD carry champion versus the former champion AD carry in Bruncy, both of whom did play for Loud.
Former Loud AD carry, yeah.
True, yeah, both of them. Well, current, I guess, for Root. But in this game, the AD carries have been really quiet. Raven and Trigo have just been farming up the Storm bot lane. And unfortunately, I think that's going to be a while yet. You see the Trinity Force stats, the changes on the screen there, and both of them are Trinity Force users. So that's complete. They're probably not really looking for these massive team fights. They're looking for skirmishes, and it's not about the AD carries in these early skirmishes.
I'm feeling team fight on the horizon right now, RMC. The top laners were trading, but Gigu the first to roam over. Grell working on that Herald. Kabum trying to find a way in. Watch for the Maokai ult. That could be the key that they need to step forward. Besides that, not that much CC on their side. They don't find the opening, and Grell will pick up the second Herald of the game.
Crosstail might be a little bit split here, and Grell
wants a bit more. The flash out of the Karma. In goes damage once again. Flawless on the front line, holding it down. As damage first to get traded back as now Grell takes out Crosstail in the Renekton. Dives deep for the tower, slices and dices, but doesn't find any kills.
Lonely living up to his name, zero hesitation diving, and you could see both these teams had a little bit of hesitation on wanting to pull the trigger, and both of these teams had players who went, we do this. Grell going hard onto Redbird, finding Crosstail and Lonely, trying to dive that turret. Kabum might have lost the Herald, but they'll be the ones to pick up the turret.
They'll keep that gold fairly even, and they've got that dragon stacking, remember, so they have that potential soul threat to come through. As the replay of this fight comes here, BKS could have just backed off, but they really wanted this fight.
Yeah, because they saw that Kabum was split on multiple fronts. Lonely went up top, Crosstail was cut off by that wall, and so Grell recognized that, hey, we've got this angle, we go for it, and respected damage as well. I mentioned Grell being the initial engager, but damage had no hesitation to throw his life away to trade support for mid lane. On paper, that should have favored Kate Stars and they should have been able to push. But Kabum said, hey, it doesn't matter that Crosstail is dead. We got enough damage on the rest of them. We can push in and we can get the turret despite losing Herald.
Yeah, exactly. I like that point about damage. One of the only players who is still going for the engage on the regular. Pulled the Leona out yesterday in a field of Lulus and Yumis and Milios. He is still going for that playmaking potential. Trigo and Damage, such a veteran duo added to this Kate Stars roster. A duo that you can just kind of leave them to their own devices, and they're just so experienced together. They're always reliable.
Yeah, and they'll have to be. This game right now, still fairly balanced, Trajan, in terms of how things are going. I think both teams have executed their compositions really well. So it kind of becomes who's able to pull it off a little bit better. And for my money's worth right now, Kate Stars are looking... I feel like Kate Stars have a side edge in it. They are playing the CBLOL way. What we're used to seeing, Trajan, which is just big team fights, hard engages to come through. Kabum has been doing really well with this keep away and poke, but it comes down to vision. They have vision at Dragon, they won that. Kate Stars had vision at Herald, Kate Stars won that. And for now, with Dragon coming up, Kabum is the one who seems to have slightly better coverage than first move advantage from mid lane.
They do have the vision right now, but not the actual physical presence, and Gigo, Grevthar now can block them from actually venturing into that river. Kabum, you can see they don't want to give up full control of the area, as Lonely trying to zone away the jungler. Both teams just waiting for a chance to go in. Grevthar doesn't find the charm. Crastiel getting poked down, has to flash to safety. Grevthar always ready to punish. Shock Blast is tossed back to Malkyle as well, forces a full disengage, and Herald in the mid lane is going to threaten this mid lane tower, but it won't get it for now.
Not gonna lie, I clenched right there when Herald went in for the charge. Crastiel was a couple of pixels away from being interrupted on that back, but able to complete, able to TP back into the fight. That scuttle vision right now is huge for Kabum, but is it enough?
Mitch looking over the wall, doesn't have flash right now. Draken goes ever lower. Grell can secure it, finds it, stops the stacking, and now because the knockup. Here's the CC engage. Kabum trying to disengage, but Gigo goes deep for the kills, is traded back. 2-4-1 right now. Crastiel on his own, no way out for the mid laner. And Kabum, a slightly worse state on this fight right now, and they don't have the soul point to play with.
Trajan, it's all about the vision. Damage once again did go down in that fight, but playing with that vision coming from across the wall caught Kabum off guard, and you could see Kabum's hesitation for a second when Loli got pecked. Do we go in or do we disengage at this point? Dragon was so low, and Cage Stars, they're doing the things, Trajan. They're finding the engages they need to make their combo.
Exactly, they need to keep those wins rolling in, keep themselves with the gold lead, don't let themselves get pulled apart in the split lanes later on. You can watch Damage on the side there, finding that perfect engage.
Yeah, and right there, right at that moment, you see Redbird and Raven actually walking out of the fight with the Karma and Ezreal. They were saying, we've got a pull comp, we don't want any of the smoke, and frankly, Dragon's dead. That probably would have been the right call, but if your team's going in, you need to go in with the rest of your team for any chance, and unfortunately, Crastiel on this Jace is not having a good time of it. Dead twice, and a lot of that fight kicked off because Crastiel got picked, blue flash early, and had to base.
Perhaps a saving grace for Kabum right now, a consolation prize that Zeri has received. None of the kills so far. We've seen what Zeri can do as they scale later on into the game, but still working on that early build, as you mentioned, while the Ezreal is going to have that big mid-game spike. Ego flatly ignoring Lonely to focus down this tower. Let's see this 1v1, see if it goes a different way. Okay. He just gets chopped down.
Not gonna lie, Trajan, for a second, I actually thought Gigo was gonna tag the turret, get to half health, and beat a fully ulted Predictive. That would have been. You know what? Maybe it was Robo.
Robo wins that for sure. Robo wins it for sure. As now Kabum maybe looking for a collapse on this top side. They won't keep a hold of that top lane tower. Zeri not with the rest of Cade Stars, but again, there's not really a lot of great catch, pick, kind of hard engage tools for Kabum. It's really just the Malkyle.
Yeah, and in the first place, their composition was never built to pick a team fight. Frankly, if you do pick a team fight with Cade Stars and they are not poked down, that's unlikely to end well for you. Cade Stars did manage to pick up 2 outer turrets though in that last exchange. Big infusion of gold. And Lonely gonna try and equalize a little bit in that bot lane. So the map is starting to open up a little bit. And I actually think that favors Cade Stars, because now there are more angles for them to force fights onto Kabum. And Kabum, before they just had to worry about the objectives and vision in those areas, in that neutral ground, now if they want to split push, if they want to leave Lonely on an island trying to pressure somewhere else, they got to make sure that they've got vision there, as well as the objective that Kabum wants to
Crastiel finds himself under threat here. Redbird is ready and waiting to see if he can get his mid laner out of danger. The charm lands, and Grell is so strong in this game. Even the E-shield can't keep him alive for long, but Flawless is there. Drops the Nature's Craft. Can he find the shutdown on this jungler? Raven with a big chunk of gold landing in his pocket.
Solid pick, good response from Kabum, but the issue still remains, Trajan. That's what happens when you split push without proper vision. And I was talking about Lonely. Lonely can at least fight time. You saw how quickly Crastiel died, and if not for the fact the team was already going to reinforce Crastiel, that could have ended a lot worse. For now though, Kabum ahead in the kills, still pretty much dead even, and it's a minute 30 from Dragon Spawn. Baron, too early to take, so Trajan, it looks like it's going to be a bit of a pause button for another minute or so.
I would say so. We'll see if Kabum can maybe get their side lanes in control, maybe, you know, threaten or slow down BKS, give them something else to deal with while that kind of vision trading and position setup is done. As Crastiel really struggling in this game, 0-3-2. We saw him perform excellently in the team fights yesterday. Now with a bit more of a complex pick with the poke, you have to pick your moment to go in very carefully. Being caught in the side lanes, not quite as strong from him, and it has been Lonely, who has stepped up to fill those carry shoes, 3-1 and 2 himself, and carrying those team fights with the sheer presence of that Renekton.
Yeah, and speaking of carry situation, we're past 20 minutes. We left bot lane alone for 20 minutes because we didn't think anything was going to happen. I think it's about time we kind of revisit that. Triforce is picked up for both Raven and Trigo. Second item completed as well. Hurricane for Trigo, and we're seeing the Manamune completed as well for Ezreal. Now is when these AD carriers need to start showing that they're worth their salt. And I'm going to be honest, I had questions about Raven after watching him last bit. I mentioned before, he felt like an early game AD carry, really good on the Kalista, things like Lucian. But his late game hasn't been enough to carry Kabum through just yet. And I want to see how he pilots these upcoming fights, because Kabum needs a sort of secondary carry. And if Crossdale's not having the best game of his life, Lonely's doing well, but they need a little more.
This mid game, all important for him right now. The Ezreal loves to play around and skirm and scrap around these mid lane fights. Throws out the ultimate, gets some poke down to Kate Stars. Vigo on the flank, good on vision. Lonely forces the issue. Moves for the engagement, dashes away to safety. Kabum peeling back from the river as Gigo committing hard into there. Kabum has spotted the rest of Kate Stars coming around the corner, but Renekton still in full retreat. And Kate Stars, they're taking a lot of pain for this move.
They are, but they are getting to push up more, I think, than they deserve. Greptar's not with them. That is a 4v5, but Kabum have no clue. They've caught Gigo? Maybe?
Force the ultimate out for Ellen with a massive engage, and damage to the follow-up. Look for Raven, can he stay alive as Trigo finds the first kill? The fight splits across the jungle, and Zeri is the one filling the kill feed. Trigo steps up in the fight, but it's still, what is this, a 3 versus 3?
Yeah. 2 for 2. Greptar has TP, is going back to base. Thankfully for Kabum, there are no good wards for Greptar to be able to TP onto Kate Stars. They still have control of this dragon, but Flawless is somehow scaring them away.
Lonely and Crashtail as well, doing the double TP back in. Can Flawless look for this flip smite as well? Finds another. I doubt he's going to get away with it with his life. But again, denying that Hextech soul point.
But Grell did what he needed to do as a jungler, and we salute your sacrifice, Grell. The problem is it worth it? We are past 20 minutes, Trajan. Baron is on the table. Kabum have fully respawned, and now Kate Stars need to make sure they don't lose this. Kabum has enough tankiness that it's safe for them to do this and still try and push out Kate Stars.
Got the smite advantage, but a 4v5 is still very losable. Redbird trying to get some information. Will spot Kate Stars coming around the corner. Revstar now not going for a fight position. They're going for the front to back. In goes the Ari. Lonely soaking up damage on the front line. Gigo trying to get the damage down. Flawless finds the Baron, but can they win the fight off the back of it? Redbird split onto his own. The rest of Kabum trapped in the bit. Regain. Still up. Raven Flawless left alone. Down by the Zeri.
Trigo! Ace! This man! One split. He suffered on Fury. People railed at him for his poor performance. But this is why Trigo and Damage caught our eye in the off-season, Trajan. The fact that this duo together has made finals every single time. 2 different teams going for their third now. And Trigo, I don't know if it's Trigo and Damage. I don't know if it's Zeri. But something is bust about that ball.
Can always put your trust in Trigo, everybody. 4-0-6, a game-breaking team fight in the Baron pit.
And this game has got to be the weirdest episode of Deal or No Deal we've ever seen, right? This fight is incredibly chaotic, and unfortunately for Kabum, we mentioned before, they don't want to team fight. If they are forced to fight, they will lose. And you see exactly why. Trigo was virtually untouched for the first half of it. They were stuck in the pit. There was so much CC coming through. Grell was creating so much confusion. And Flawless kept his head, got the Baron, but it doesn't matter if you get Baron and nobody can get out.
Into the jungle this time, Flawless will be picked apart. And Cade Stars finally getting some momentum. Now, at least for Kabum's sake, they didn't get the Baron, so the pushing is not quite as easy. But you can see the confidence and all-time high here for the blue side.
Yeah, and without Flawless as well. One thing we kind of didn't touch on was there are runaway tools with Chase and Karma. But the major disengage tool is the Maokai ultimate. If Flawless is not there, Kabum cannot counter-engage. The best they can hope for is run away. And if Cade Stars are knocking at your turrets, where can you run to, Trishan? Any further back, and your turrets are going to be sacrificed.
There's not really a lot of options available in that scenario. As we can see the damage totals on your screen right there, Gigo is doing a lot of work. Now, you will have buffed those up a little bit in the lane, just wailing on a bruiser with Lonely absorbing a lot of that damage. But still, 3-5 and 5. The scoreline doesn't look great, but the work being done cannot be denied.
Now, the work being done, though, Trajan, can be undone by Kabum. There are ways to try and punish this. Keep in mind, Gigo doesn't have teleport, so if Kabum is able to play the map a little bit better, force more rotations, there are ways to come back, and most notably as well, Cade Stars have found picks on solo laners, like Lonely and Crosstail, farming the wave on the side. Kabum hasn't found that, and it's not like they don't have the tools. Flawless on Maokai, one of the best junglers, to kind of force these picks with the CC, and you've seen Lonely do damage. Heck, even Crosstail 1, 4, and 4 does hurt if he can hit you. If he can hit you. And that's been the big problem, and I'd love to see Kabum try and do that to get back into the game, because your team fight won't win a team fight. Your team comp won't win a team fight, and you're down 7k gold. You ain't winning a fight that way either. The only way they come back in is spins.
After that solid laning phase, we've never really seen Kabum get the best use out of this comp that they have that can play spread out across the map. As Dreptar finds the charm onto Lonely. Will be followed up with the knockup there, firing back our Kabum. We still have the tower to hide underneath. Ego on the side, maybe looking for an angle, but Raven is yeeing forward, looking for more poke, and Cade Stars don't want any more of that.
Yeah, Cade Stars took a lot of poke on that, and you're seeing the importance of having that Maokai, the ability to actually threaten the kills back onto Cade Stars. Now, Cade Stars has to be careful. Dragon's coming up in 30 seconds, or 40 seconds, pardon me. They are kind of low on health, and they need to recall and get to this fight. It's not soul just yet, but it is soul point, and Hextech Soul to me feels like the most impactful soul. If you have that, you are the one controlling the space of the fights, the zone of the fight, the speed of the fight. Kabum setting up the vision line. They are setting up their pick. Is this Death Bush going to be in it?
I'm going to be honest, I see level 16 Trigo. I think about four stacked Hextech Drake, Hextech Soul on Zeri. I think yes, RMC. I'm pretty happy with that if I'm the Cade Stars. As Kabum now stepping into the mid lane, trying to contest that space. Rel on the bottom side, Dreptar. Another charm mantle to Crosstail. We will survive for now. Diving in again as the Ari forces the back. Perfect engage with a double cyclone and key for the Cade Stars. Again, drop Kabum into the meat grinder. Another multi-kill for Trigo on the Zeri, the ace once again. And that is this game done.
And that, Trajan, is why we laud Grell. He entered that fight like he entered Brazil with a bang. And Kabum, they fell apart. It's really, really unfortunate, but Cade Stars are just looking so clean to start the season.
Insane final play from the Cade Stars jungler, and Trigo dishing out the damage. This roster is really, really threatening. That Cade Star continues to rise in Split 2. I think we might just have ourselves a new finals, playoffs, maybe championship contender right now. Am I getting too excited, RMC?
You know what? I'd be excited with you right there. And what's even better to me was how they play these games, right? Yesterday, it was all about Gigo on that Gwen, taking over the game. Today, it's about Trigo. It's about damage.